Obviously, I have all the respect in the world for Taker, and that's Taker's opinion, and I get it. Then my first question would be, then okay, then induct Chyna in by yourself at the same time, right? Yeah. I mean, she was in the group DX. We put them in as a group. Now we're going to put him in as a singles wrestler. Who matches her? Bro, we can talk the same thing about, let's go back to the great booking and the great producers and girls half the size of Rhea Ripley beating Rhea Ripley every single week.
Let's talk about fans being upset that the Undertaker inducted Triple H, the boss, into the Hall of Fame as head of deserving contenders. Undertaker fired back by saying, regardless of what people think, essentially, that's basically the short version of it. Regardless of what people think, he is not going to put himself in the Hall of Fame. And if there's anybody that is up there that deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, now I know he's there in DX, but that's completely different, right? But his resume speaks for itself. Anybody that understands anything about wrestling, he's a first ballot Hall of Fame guy, but he's not going to put himself in there. People were talking about Vince Russo a lot. Vince McMahon had that same philosophy as far as not putting himself into the Hall of Fame. And interestingly enough, Vince McMahon is not in the Hall of Fame still. What do you think about this when it comes to Triple H's philosophy as well? Do you think his share there, or do you think that this is, to elevate Triple H and make him look good?
Okay. Listen, I'm not going to, obviously, I have all the respect in the world for Taker, and that's Taker's opinion, and I get it. Then my first question would be, then, okay, then induct Chyna in by yourself at the same time, right? Yeah. I mean, she was in the group DX. We put them in as a group. Now we're going to put him in as a singles wrestler. Who matches her? Bro, we can talk the same thing about, let's go back to the great booking and the great producers and girls half the size of Rhea Ripley beating Rhea Ripley every single week. There was no other Chyna. There will never, ever be another Chyna. So if you're going to do that, then does she get in next year on her own? I mean, that's just the question I'm asking.
Fair, EC3. What do you think?
Hey, I'm confused why fans are mad the Undertaker inducted Triple H.
No, just that Triple H is getting in again.
And as a singles.
Yeah.
Well, he's also, so he's in with DX and now he's in as a singles. I mean, I don't know. I feel like we talk about the Hall of Fame every week, and what we've come to a unanimous conclusion is nothing matters. So whatever, man.
Yeah.
I mean, as a single, he would certainly be qualified, I think, in the make-believe criteria that doesn't exist. But I mean, what are we fighting about?
But Chris, here's part of that problem too. It's not just that, bro. Triple H is all over everything. All over everything, all over the WrestleMania promo. He's all over. Vince never did that, bro. He never, ever put himself all over everything. So I think it's a combination of the two, Chris. If Triple H was not in so many packages and, going out there at the beginning of WrestleMania, if he didn't put himself out there as much as he does, I don't think people would have that much of a problem with it. But he's just out there so much. So when you combine the two, it looks like the dude's an egomaniac.
In wrestling?
Yeah.
No.
It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Do you think a difference between Triple H and Vince McMahon, Vince Russo, is Vince was a business guy. He lived, sweat, bled, dreamed. Just everything about the business was revolved around his life. Triple H, and although kudos to Triple H as far as being in the spot that he is, it kind of feels that Triple H is a mark for the business like the fans is. And so he's just enjoying the moment and being a part of all the video packages because he's one of the fans for the business. You really didn't get that type of vibe from Vince McMahon. He was more of the boss. He was more of the end all be all business guy. Am I in the ballpark there?
This is what you're saying, and I think EC3 will agree with this too. Okay, here's the big difference. This is it in a nutshell. Vince McMahon was never one of the boys. Mm-hmm. Once you're one of the boys, bro, you're always going to be one of the boys. I don't care what your position is in the company. If you were one of the boys, that's always going to be your mindset, bro. That's always going to come first. And I know it, bro, because I worked with people in the spot. I worked with Jeff Jarrett for years when Jeff Jarrett tried to put on the owner's hat. But the bottom line is when you would sit there with him creatively, he was one of the boys, and now we're looking at everything like I'm one of the boys. That's why Vince was never that way. He was never one of the boys. And, bro, that's not a slight on Triple H. I've worked with Dusty in that spot. I worked with Sullivan in that spot. I worked with Kevin Nash in that spot, Jeff Jarrett in that spot. When you're one of the boys, bro, that's your freaking mentality. And part of that mentality is put yourself over. Get yourself over, put yourself out there. That never goes away.
No. There's still an obsession with the camera. You know what I mean? Like when you're one of the boys, there's still that obsession of I gotta be in front of a camera. I gotta pitch myself. I gotta cut the promo. I gotta sell this thing. I gotta stay in character. I gotta let everybody, like, I'm so addicted to this camera because so much of my heart and soul is this camera reaching out and pitching and getting the feeling of the audience, that it's hard to have that office position because it's still a part of you that still wants that camera interaction. Well, so that's the type of feel that I get from Triple H.
EC3 is in that same spot. I mean, if anybody can answer this, it can be you, bro. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a couple thoughts. I think Vince is absolutely right, and I didn't really think about it till he started saying it. But once you're one of the boys, you always are. In my, like, this is small compared to like a Triple H role, but in what I'm doing, like, there's certain things with talent that come to the business aspect with paying or training and paying, and like these certain things, I'm like, I have to remove myself totally. Because I do develop close personal relationships. Because, I'm kind of producing or writing and booking them in a sense. But at the same time, I'm sitting next to them in the locker room, putting my gear on, putting my left boot on, just like them. So I do have to I choose to remove myself from some of the business things because there can be a conflict because I grow to like them and damn near love them. So where if money is a thing, I don't want to be, well, here's more, because then now the business is suffering because I'm generous and it's my buddy. I think on the Triple H with the video package things, I don't see him being in the editing room, putting those things together. So I wouldn't say like that's his responsibility or he's putting himself like, make sure I'm in this video as much as possible. I think that's probably underneath people trying to keep their job and thinking they need to appease him, where I bet if he was in it 40% less, he wouldn't notice or he wouldn't say anything. But that's what they made, and it looks cool and it's flashy. It goes up there and it airs. I would say, too, for an example, like I'm talking about When in Rome 2, Exodus Pro on NWA YouTube, our best show yet. So proud of the guys. Everybody did great. What was the main event? Oh, yeah, me winning. So am I like a hypocrite? Because like wrestlers, if they're active and they're still in a creative process, whether they mean to or not, even if they don't, they are going to like care how they're portrayed, and they are going to probably put people they like in better positions. And I can see myself doing that. The people I like just happen to be awesome and thriving and doing great stuff. But at the same time, I can see that happening because I'm sitting in it and I'm aware of it. So, but yeah, I won the main event of my own show, and it was our best show ever. No kidding, bro. It looked awesome.
Yeah, I think with upstarts like that, like Exodus Pro, and I think when companies are really predicated on the success of good shows, you kind of have to be that player coach. I mean, we saw that with Vern Gagne and AWA. We saw that with Jeff Jarrett and TNA. Like that you have to have that player coach role at least until you see the company grow legs and you're able to see the company start to walk by itself, just like a baby, right? So, that player coach role, it really is a necessity in many ways. WWE doesn't need a player coach. I mean, they haven't needed a player coach for a long time. I mean, Vince McMahon, he became a player coach in a sense because they really had, WCW and the WWE had a war. And at that point in time, Vince McMahon was like, look, all right, I'll be player coach because if we're going to go down, at least we're going to go down with everything we possibly have. And so he basically threw himself in there. It was incredibly successful because Austin McMahon is arguably the greatest feud, or at least one of the top greatest feuds in pro wrestling history. So there's parts that you got to be player coach. WWE doesn't need that right now. They don't need player coach at all.
And it's so funny the way you said that, EC3, because you're right about that. It's God, bro. But again, I think it goes back to being one of the boys. When you say Triple H is not in the editing room and he's not saying, put me in this, put me in that, and you're saying, the people under him are doing that, maybe to get over with him, whatever. But it's so funny, bro, because then you would have thought they would have handled Vince McMahon the same way. But they never did, because they knew Vince doesn't want that. They knew Vince would look at this and say, take me out of that, put one of the boys in my spot. So they would never do that. So like, where I agree with you 1000%, no way is Triple H saying, oh yeah, we're doing this spot and put me here and put me there. But if I'm Triple H, am I saying, bro, take me out and put in so-and-so? It's no different than Tony Khan doing every single interview and not having his boys do the interview. It's the same exact thing.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. We have, on that note, we will close up the chapters of the night.
I would just like to say this discussion was really cool and like a good thorough breakdown of wrestling that's not like what's going on backstage or like Marky or like 5 stars. Like, I thought it was really a good chat.
Yes, indeed. It's very intellectual. Speaking of intellectual, you've got a book coming up, man. What's up with that?
I'm on the 4th chapter, so I got 10 total. So I don't know when it'll come out, but
nice.
Man, I did talk about, like, I'm writing about the business of the match and breaking it down, and I kind of break down 5 W's, who, what, when, where, why, and how you can utilize it in business, how you can utilize it in wrestling. And I started telling the story, like, using a personal example of, like, this promo I did with Kurt and showing the intentions of the who, what, when, where, and why that went into my presentation of it. So it might be cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I will make a prediction, though, bro. Once you start getting into this, no way you're keeping this to 10 chapters.
You think it's going to be more?
Absolutely. Once you get rolling, bro, absolutely.
I think it will remain 10, but I see myself continually adding stuff within it.
Yep.
As a established, published author of several books, that is definitely something to note. There we go. And someone who's an aspiring author, AC3, will start to, from what I heard, as soon as you write one book, you kind of get a little bit of an addiction start going on as far as just and then you get the flowing and you're like, oh man, this is great, man. So yeah,
that's why he's keeping it at 10 chapters, bro. We didn't tell you it's volume 1.
Yes,
I did not tell you that.
yes.
Oxford Dictionary of just complete horse shit. Sorry.
There you go. A whole collection, ladies and gentlemen. Volume 1 coming up. We got EC3. We got Vince Russo. I'm Dr. Chris. This is the Wrestling Outlaws. Have a good night, everybody. Solo.